Hi, Stampin' Friends. Happy Wednesday. All right. I'm going to check that I'm live and we'll get going. I don't really have anything new announcement-wise. I would remind you that, oops, let's see here. Oh, yeah, okay. Couple of things in June. Of course, if you're spending more than $250 or have a group order that will go over $250, you get an extra $25 on your Stampin' Rewards, so that's great. If you're spending under $150 and you use my host code for the month, I'll send you a free spool of Bumblebee gingham ribbon with a $35 or more order. And then, of course, the big thing, if you have a really big wish list and you're, getting around $100, consider the starter kit, because this month you get an extra bundle, either a Stampin' Punch or Stampin' die bundle with the starter kit. So it's always a good deal, but now you get an extra bundle, which, it's a $50-ish value depending on what you pick. Okay, so hi guys. Oh, I have a few people on. Hi Karen from North Carolina. Hi Judy. Let's see. I am just going to get going and try to get through this pretty quick and then transfer this over to YouTube so as not to refilm and duplicate the work. So if you're watching on YouTube and you're missing my normal captions, which show the dimensions, go back to buckeyeinklings.com, because on my Thursday post, which will be tomorrow, Thursday, June 18th, I will have all the dimensions just listed out so you don't have to try to find them in the video. Okay, we're going to do one card that's a little bit complicated and then one that's really easy. All right, so here is the more complicated one. And this is a sliding easel card. You see it's got this finger grip here. And when you pull on it, it raises into an easel. So that's kind of a cool twist on an easel card. Your recipient can set it up, on a mantle or windowsill and display it, which is fun because it's such a nice summery jar of flowers. I got this idea. I've seen the card type on Pinterest, and I saw one done by Julie Kettlewell with the jar of love stamps that we had about 2-3 years ago. And I like the idea of the bunch of flowers, and we have a lot of great things to put in a bunch of flowers in a little bouquet. We've got the Celebrate Sunflowers. Here's another version that I made with the In Good Taste paper and the Celebrate Sunflowers. Same idea. We've got the sunflowers, we've got daisies, we've got all kinds of other flowers, peonies, whatever you like, or you can display something else. You could just display like a big happy birthday message. All right, so let's get started. This one, as you can see, has a background of cardstock that I embossed. This is embossed with the Dainty Diamonds embossing folder, which is really cool. Now, this one is a little sturdier, and I kind of like it better because it has a layer of cardstock and it has designer paper. So we're going to make basically these bright color daisies using this paper from In Good Taste, but I'm also going to have it like this where we have DSP in the background. So we'll end up with a third one that's just a little different from these, but the mechanism is the same, and that's what's important. Okay, so let's get started. I have pre-made a lot of the pieces. I stamped the greeting. This goes on a 2" by 4" piece of Whisper White. For the card base, you need a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 piece of cardstock. I'm using gray granite. And for the pull piece, you're using 4 inches by 5 1/4. I'm going to match gray granite. I'm doing it kind of like this one where it's early espresso and early espresso, only I'm going to do that with the granites. 4 by 5 1/4, and it's scored at 1.5 inches in already. So I'll burnish that so you can see that. And then I have a piece of designer paper that measures 3.5 by 3 3/4 to go there. And then the band piece, which makes the pool piece or the slider piece, this is 1.5 by 9.5. And then we have these little pieces for the mechanism, 1 inch by 4 inch, scored with a 1/2 inch tab on the end, 1/2 inch by 1.5 inch, and it's scored at every 1/2 inch. And then 1 by 2 3/4, and it's scored a 1/2 inch from either end. Okay, and we're going to actually make that like a Z fold. So it's scored at 1/2 and 2 1/4. Okay, so let's start putting these pieces together. And we are going to first put our greeting. The greeting is from Celebrate Sunflowers. We're going to put that in place kind of like our normal, with our normal matted border. And I'm just going to put that in place down at the bottom here because you'll see that when the easel is popped open. Okay, and then I'm going to take this piece, which of course is the easel piece, and I'm going to attach the band piece to that. So this is 1.5 inch wide. We're going to attach it here to this this section that was scored at 1.5. I'm going to avoid adhesive there where I'm going to punch. I'm going to punch that little finger hold. Okay, but I'm going to put this designer paper in place so that it's roughly centered and the bottom edge matches the bottom edge of the gray granite. Okay, it doesn't have to be exactly centered, but close. Okay, and make sure that can fold. All right, so then we're going to set this up to be a slider. And sorry, let me make my punch first here. I am going to find the midpoint of this slider piece, and I am going to punch like a little less than a 1 inch circle there to make my little finger hold. Okay, and then I'm going to put this in place so that it's an equal distance, kind of like this piece is matted on the other gray granite piece. And I'm going to slide this all the way to the end for the moment. And then I'm going to turn this over, hold that all in place, and turn it over to make my band piece. Now, we're going to make that not really tight, but we want it to fit the edges quite well. Okay, and I'm going to put the heavier Stampin' Seal Plus in this location, since this will be a piece that's in motion and might take a little stress. But I'm just folding these the ends of the strip around to make a collar on this, on the base piece. Okay, and hopefully we haven't made it too tight that it can't slide. Let's see. Oh, I may have. Hold on. Oh no, that's okay. Here, let me make this easier on myself. Let me also nip out that bit of the back. Oops, I got through too much paper there. Okay. All right, so now let's make sure this can slide before we move on. Oh, may have made it a little too, oh no, there we go. You don't want it too loose because you want it to hold in place when it's like propped up as an easel. Okay, hi guys, hi. I'll look through the comments at the end here. All right, so next piece, what we're gonna put on is a prop piece to hold up our flower pot. Okay, so this is the piece I've mentioned. It's 1 inch by 4 inches and it's scored at 1/2. The only dimension that's important is that you have a 1/2 inch tab here at the bottom. You may make this wider or shorter depending on what you are mounting on your strip. Okay, so we have this kind of skinny jar, so it's only 1 inch wide. Okay, and I'm going to put my Stampin' Seal Plus on that tab piece, and then helps to have a ruler to center this. I'm going to match that edge to the edge of the designer paper here and also center this. All right. And then I need that little piece, the one that's just, you know, 1/2 inch all around. And I hope I can get enough Stampin' Seal on this. I want to make sure this is covered pretty well to do the trick here. I've got some extra going over the edges that I'm just twisting back into place. Okay, so I've got the adhesive on the 2 end pieces here, and I'm going to start by putting one of those end pieces right up to the score line and centered within our little prop piece. And then I've folded it down here, and I'm going to fold this piece. I'm sorry, I forgot. I'm going to put DSP on this first, and then I will finish that. In the blue version, we didn't have the DSP, so I wasn't thinking of that. Okay, so let me put the DSP in there first. Okay, and then I'm going to fold that back onto that little 1/2 inch piece that has adhesive, and that is going to make our mechanism to prop up our flower pot in front of our easel. Okay, so let's see, putting this together now. So as this pops up, that little U-shaped piece makes sure that the flowers also come up with the back of the easel. And let's do that back of the easel now. We have this piece, which was 1 by 2 3/4, 1/2 inch tabs on either end. It's Z folded, so I am going to put adhesive on opposite sides of the piece. And I'm just trying to make sure I have enough. I might do this with glue as well, but I don't want to wait for it to dry here. Okay, so 1 by 2 3/4, scored at 1/2 inch on either end. And we're going to put this little prop piece in place back here under the easel. And to do that, I have this quilter's ruler where I can see the horizontal lines, and each little square represents an 1/8 inch. So what I'm going to do is locate the bottom edge of my ruler a 1/2 inch from the top of the card base. Okay, and then I'm also using the markings to center this piece as I put it down here. And that way I can locate this right where I want it, 1/2 inch below the top here. I'm just trying to do that without putting my head right into the camera. Okay, and I've got that first edge of the Z pressed down to the paper. And then this, of course, it needs to be flat when it's all closed, right? Because that flattens and goes in an envelope. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to slide my pull piece, my collar piece or slider piece, whatever you want to call it, back into the place where I want it to be, like when it's closed. So I'm just lining up the bottom edge here with the bottom edge of my my white, Whisper White on the inside, making sure that the sides are like in a nice matted position. And then I'm going to press that all together onto my Z piece, and then I will be able to open the whole mechanism. That Z piece pulls the back of the easel up into place, and of course our little prop piece is also propped up in there. So all we have left to do now is decorate this. Okay, and I did make some pieces ahead of time. I've got a garden green piece of foliage cut from the Forever Flourishing dies. I've made, of course, there's flowers in the Jar of Flowers set that you could use as your decoration. I wanted a little fuller look on this card. I made Daisy Lane daisies out of Magenta Madness, Mango Melody, and Daffodil Delight. I just stamped them in the same color on that color cardstock, punched them out, and put 2 together for each. And let me see, I've got the jar here too. I wanted to point out about the jar. I've already stamped the outline of the jar and the stems of the flowers, and I just colored them in with my garden green Stampin' Write marker. But I wanted to point out that these, the gray images are reverse sides of the corresponding stamp, the stamp that they're next to. So I've stamped the outline, and I'm going to use the back of this stamp to do my water fill. Okay, I'm just going to touch in some color that looks like water. I've got my Seaside Spray. And so the stamp is mounted, the side that makes the outline of this water is actually pressed to the block. And I'm just using the flat side, and I'm going to stamp off to make it a little lighter, and then fill my jar with that water. Okay, so that was from the flat side of the stamp. That's what these are all about. When you see a gray side, they're two-sided stamps, one meant to fill the jar. And then, of course, that great Jar of Flowers set has a punch that goes with it. And I'm just going to punch out that jar. And then I can build up my card here, as I was saying. Okay, so I'm going to start with the jar. Now, I need to put it in place so that the bottom of the jar is above this fold, okay, so it doesn't prevent the mechanism, you know, from opening and closing. And then I have already figured out that I just want kind of most of this greenery. I'm cutting apart some of these greens, and I'm also going to use this side of the greenery here, this leaf that I kind of flattened out. I'll give it back a little shape there. Okay, and I'm going to use these in my jar. I'm just going to take a drop of glue where this is just kind of temporary measure to hold this in place. Now with your filler, you want to make sure you're within the limits of the card base, so that when this is closed, if you want to put it in an envelope, it will fit. Okay. And just going to tuck this kind of in the other side. And then, like I said, I already have my flowers, so just remembering what I did, because I know this worked out. I put a little glue here for the Daffodil Delight flower, and then instead of putting glue on the back of the mango flower, I'm going to put the glue right here on my prop so that I make sure, like if I put it on the back of the flower, it might not be in the right place to hit the prop. So I'm going to tuck that Mango Melody flower in there. And then I'm going to, again, so that the dimensional is surely on the prop, in the limits of the prop piece, I'm going to put a dimensional down here for my Magenta Madness flower. And there's my little flower arranging done. I have a bow tied already from the polka dot tool. And I'm gonna put that on here. And then to do my flower centers, we have these great new, they're called Artistry Blooms adhesive back sequins. So love adhesive back sequins. I'm just gonna take a couple of each and let's see, put them on my flowers to kind of highlight the centers, be the centers. And let's see, I think that's it. Okay, so yeah, a little bit different look here with all the tile in the background instead. And then when it props up, you can set it down. And let's see, just gonna train it back there a little bit. You may want to stamp your greeting after you see how much of that Whisper White shows after you've made this, okay? So really fun. You could think about what else you want to prop up there. And oh yeah, I do have one other. Oh yeah, this is the other example with the sunflowers. This is the jar of flowers, but I used sunflowers from the Sunflower Celebrate Sunflower set. Whoops, I can't get them to stay now. You may have to train the folds a little bit so that they are firmer and stand up. Okay, now I also made an extra one of these jars of flowers, and I just wanted to show you this. So this is a really cool product. These are vellum lace doilies. These are in our new annual catalog, and I just want to show you how easy. I'm going to put together a quick little card that's just highlighted by that doily and the pretty jar of flowers. I've got a little piece of Misty Moonlight designer paper from the Flowers for All Seasons, or Flowers for Every Season, I think it is. And then I'm going to put down the doily. I know I'm going to put my jar of flowers over here, so I don't care about the adhesive showing. Just going to put it like so. And then take the jar of flowers over here, and I am going to use glue. See, I've just built it on a similar piece of like the prop that we had for the other card. And I'll just put down a little bit of glue and make a quick card out of this. But I just got out these vellum flower, or the vellum doilies today, and they're cool because they're square and they're different. And I've got a greeting that I made from So Sentimental with the Stitch So Sweetly dies that I just love. So just put that together quickly, and just like that, with a few fun elements, you have a really great card. Sending healing hugs. Okay, so there we have it. Few things from the jar of flowers. Let me get that to stay. And I think that's a really fun fold, that sliding easel. And of course, it does pack flat to be put in an envelope. All right, so let me just look through here. I don't think I saw any questions. I saw some people joining. Hi, guys. Thanks for joining me, and if you're watching later, again, I appreciate it. All right, well, I'll just, I guess, say goodnight then. And if you're shopping this week, don't forget, I've got the Bumblebee Gingham ribbon in June with a $35 or more order. Thanks, Karen. Thanks, guys. Have a great night. Thank you. Thanks, Cheryl.